Hey guys, this is an awesome week. Come follow me. We're in 3rd Nephi 20 through 26, and then next week we finish from 27 and we go into 4th Nephi. Really good stuff, and it progresses. Once you get into 4th Nephi, like the time just starts jumping again, like it did back prior to Helaman, like where there's just big gaps of like through Enos where there's just years and years of unrecorded anything. So it's really rich right now, so let's get into it. So chapter 20, Jesus provides. So remember, everyone's been knocked on their doors last week, and they said, like, Jesus is coming back tomorrow. He taught us some really cool stuff, and he's coming back to teach you, so come. So there's a whole multitude gathered now, a whole bunch of them. Nephites, Lamanites, any survivor of this, like, earthquake and the darkness that had previously ensued over Christ's death on those 3 days. So this is a real time of like hope and awesomeness for a lot of people. Ones that didn't see him immediately, that were like picking up the pieces. They're like, what? We missed that? Let's go, right? So this is kind of like, you were sick over General Conference weekend or something, so you get to study it over the next 6 months. Amazing. We get to do that, but he gets to do the sacrament again, and he does this each time he comes to see them on the 3 days. So it's like, there's importance in there around the sacrament, and why would he be teaching them not just once and then letting them pass it on, but teaching each and every person that turns up, this is what sacrament is. So let's look at verses 3 through 9. I've called it filled, because it is. And it actually says that in verse 8. But it says, and it came to pass that he brake bread again and blessed it and gave it to the disciples to eat. And when they had eaten, he commanded that they should break bread and give unto the multitude. And when they had given unto the multitude, he also gave them wine to drink and commanded them that they should give unto the multitude. And now there had been no bread, neither wine, bought by the disciples, neither by the multitude. But he truly gave unto them bread to eat and also wine to drink. And he said unto them, excuse me, he that eateth this bread eateth of my body to his soul, and he that drinketh of this wine drinketh of my blood to his soul. And his soul shall never hunger nor thirst, but shall be filled. Now when the multitude had all eaten and drunk, behold, they were filled with the Spirit, and they did cry out with one voice, and gave glory to Jesus, whom they both saw and heard. Powerful testimony from a multitude. But there's some things to consider in here. First of all, the word again in verse 3. He gave it to them again. Now, we had the sacrament pretty much every week, other than maybe state conference, general conference, right? Sorry, I'm not contagious. I've just got that infection back. Yay, right. Anyway, so I'm all good. It's fine. So like we go back every week to be filled. So what is the sacrament to you? Is it a time to be filled up, or is it just a thing that you do on a Sunday? Like, are you going for that purpose? Like, I taught a young ones class many years ago about, because they were complaining about the speakers were boring and the classes were this and something else. So this is back when we had 3-hour church even. Didn't like Sunday school. It was like no one ever turned up and blah, blah. And I got it. I agreed. I'd been there myself. As a teenager, I thought the church, like the talks were boring. The testimony week was the worst. And no one ever turned up to teach our Sunday school class. They call people, and they just constantly not turn up. And we were nice kids. Like, we were not horrible. And then they just send in, like, the latest RM to teach us, or we just sat there quietly and discussed the scriptures ourselves. So, like, we weren't, like, even naughty kids. They just never turned up. And getting good youth teachers is hard, and it's like, the youth are actually really awesome. Give it a shot, because they're so cool. I still love teaching youth. Kids are great, don't get me wrong. I love kids and I love adults, but I think youth are probably my favorite, even if they sit there and say nothing, just because they're so, anyway, I'm going on too long, but anyway, you turn up to church for sacrament. Everything else is just stuff on top of the ice cream sundae. Like, the whole point is the ice cream, is the sacrament, and that, that's what you go to church for. Everything else is an extra. So you turn up for the sacrament, and you turn up prepared, and you think of Christ during the sacrament, and you really fill yourself for that coming week. So think of it as like, just like you need to put petrol in a car, or any other like charging electrical device, like your phone goes flat, you got to charge it up, right? That's what The sacrament is every week. It's our charging up. Now, once every 6 months, we get a mega charge, or like a new phone, maybe. But like an updated version, or whatever you want to look at it like. You can put that analogy to many things. But it shows we need filling regularly and spiritual fuel, and a reminder of Jesus and his atonement. That's what the sacrament reminds us of. 6, just showing up is enough. Come as you are, he will bring the rest, because he said there, there'd be no bread, no wine. So the New Testament teaches us, come with what you have, because they turned up with loaves and fishes, and it's like, well, we'll feed everybody. When it came to sacrament, it's like, well, we'll find some bread, or he sent his disciples to go get some bread, as in like, let's start with what we have. And we know that anything literally that you can eat or drink can be considered sacrament. Now we go with bread and water because it's like very plain, simple, commonly had. If you're gluten-free, we have gluten-free bread in our ward. Some people have rice crackers. There's no like wrong thing to have. It's just that we generally have the same thing. But in this case, there was no bread, there was no wine. He brought it. So in this case, he taught that Jesus will provide. So you have the New Testament teaching, start with what you have, just bring with what you have, turn up with what you have, and he will provide. There's a beautiful dual lesson between this experience and the New Testament. And it's just such a beautiful lesson to remember that when you go into the sacrament, you can go in there with, Lord, I desperately need fill in the blank, and you will be filled. And it's probably not going to look like you think it would, but it's going to fill you. And that he will always provide, but turn up with what you have. Start off with what you have, and he will provide the rest of it. It's such a beautiful lesson. I love that. Love the comparison. If you're teaching this in a class, please make the comparison, because it's just a beautiful way to think of Christ. Turn up with what you have, he will provide the rest. All right, here I am. We're going to go to insight number 2, which is in the end part of chapter 20. See you there.